What happens when a CEO puts on a uniform and folds towels with spa employees, only to uncover something no executive report ever mentioned? Mitchell Evans stood in the locker room of the company's 11th spa location, zipping up a plain gray polo and khaki pants. His salt and pepper beard was freshly trimmed, and his usual confident posture was flattened by a slight hunch. No Rolex, no name badge, just Mike, a new hire sent from corporate to observe operations and help out. He'd purchased the 15-location spa chain 6 years ago, after the original owner retired. Business had grown fast, but something had fell off lately. Online reviews were mixed. One location had a staff walkout. Another had a surprise health inspection fail. Reports kept coming, but no one gave clear answers. So Mitchell decided to see for himself. He picked this location because it had been quiet, too quiet, actually.
No complaints. No press. Just
silence. That's what worried him. No one here had ever met him. The corporate structure was tight. Each location had its own manager and staff, and unless someone came up to the main office in another state, they didn't see him. With a shaved haircut, glasses, and a fake backstory as a new operations trainee, Mitchell blended in without question. "Hey, you the new guy?" a woman asked, walking in with a stack of towels under one arm. "Yeah," Mitchell said, giving a small nod. "Mike. Just helping out this week." "I'm Jessa," she said, dropping the towels into a bin. "They've got me training you, I guess. Hope you're good at folding." She was early 20s, tired eyes but a kind smile. They walked to the laundry room where the heat and humidity hit like a brick wall. Piles of clean towels waited to be folded. "I usually do this solo," Jessa said. "Staff's short. One girl quit last week. Manager's been riding us hard." "What happened to the girl?" Mitchell asked, folding a towel neatly. "She had a panic attack in the hallway. Said she couldn't take it anymore. Not the customers, it's the pressure here. The managers. Intense." They kept folding. Mitchell listened more than he spoke, watching how Jessa moved, how she flinched when the manager's voice echoed down the hallway. "Jessa," a sharp voice called. A woman appeared at the door. Early 30s, blazer over her uniform, clipboard in hand. "Who's this?" she asked, eyes scanning Mitchell. "Mike," Jessa answered. "New trainee from corporate." The woman said. "Well, Mike, hope you're quick. We've got a facial in 20, and someone spilled oil on the robe stock. Jessa, fix it. Now." Jessa nodded quickly and left. Mitchell followed her to a back room where she pulled out robes from a bin. Some were ruined, greasy, and stained. She tossed them aside and grabbed fresh ones. "You okay?" Mitchell asked. Jessa hesitated.
Yeah.
I've worked here for 2 years. I love the clients. I like the work. But lately, I feel like I'm always one mistake away from being fired." Mitchell felt something twist in his chest. He didn't want to believe things were that bad. But her eyes didn't lie. They powered through the rest of the shift. Mitchell shadowed a massage therapist named Luis for a bit who seemed quiet but polite and helped clean up after steam room session. Mostly, he folded towels with Jessa and watched. Later that afternoon, something strange happened. A young woman walked in, maybe 19, with nervous energy and long sleeves pulled over her hands even though it was warm inside. "Hey, I'm here for my first day," she said, voice soft. Jessa perked up.
"Oh.
You're the new front desk hire, right?" The girl nodded. Mitchell noticed how tense she was. Jessa showed her where to clock in and started walking her through the basics. That's when the manager returned. "Wait her," the manager said, eyes narrowing. "Yes, this is," Jessa began, but the manager cut her off. "Pull me aside. Now." Jessa gave a quick look to the girl, then followed the manager to the hallway. Mitchell edged toward the supply closet next to them and listened, heart racing. "You didn't tell me she had burns," the manager hissed. "They're right on her hands. Clients will see them when she grabs towels or paperwork. I didn't know, Jessa said quietly. She's wearing sleeves. Well, tell her to keep them on. Always. We're not running a charity. Presentation matters. Mitchell froze. His stomach turned. The girl wasn't doing anything wrong, she was starting a job. And instead of being welcomed, she was being told to hide herself. He stepped back before they could see him, pretending to restack towels. Jessa came back out, her face pale. The girl was folding her sleeves down again, trying to smile, trying to act like she hadn't just been shamed before, even starting. Mitchell watched Jessa walk over and whisper something kind to her. The girl nodded, holding back tears.
He clenched his jaw.
This wasn't pressure. This was cruelty. And it wasn't going to be ignored. The next morning started just after 6. Mitchell sat on a plastic bench in the break room, tying his shoes while the rain drummed outside. The room smelled like stale coffee and lemon cleaner. A small whiteboard on the wall listed everyone's shift for the day, but half the names were crossed out with red marker. Jessa walked in with damp hair and a paper cup in her hand. She gave a nod, quiet but alert. You always come this early? Mitchell asked, adjusting the laces on his left sneaker. She took a sip of coffee and leaned against the wall. If I don't, I lose the only 10 minutes of quiet I get all day. Mitchell stood and followed her to the supply room, where the first load of towels was already tumbling in the dryer. Who's running front this morning? He asked. She checked the clipboard. Supposed to be Mia, the new girl.
But
Mitchell waited. She texted last night. Said she wasn't sure she could come back. Felt like she made a mistake. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. By 8, the spa was humming with low instrumental music and the scent of eucalyptus. Mitchell was assigned to prep treatment rooms that morning. Jessa handed him a checklist and showed him how to restock oils, reset linens, and clean the therapy tables. Before she left to check on a client, she paused near the door. Don't talk too much around Danielle. She doesn't like new people asking questions. Mitchell nodded once and kept working. He finished the third room just before Danielle appeared. She walked in without knocking, scanning the setup like she was hunting for something. You put the wrong blend in the diffuser, she said sharply. That's the lavender bottle. This is a eucalyptus client. I switched it already, Mitchell replied calmly. She stared at him for a beat too long. You're not here to make decisions. You're here to follow instructions. He didn't respond. She walked out. Minutes later, he saw her intercept Luis near the reception desk. Mitchell kept his distance, wiping down a counter, but watched closely. Luis, Danielle said, voice low but firm. I heard you let a client leave without a post-treatment upsell yesterday. I asked. She said no, so I let her go. You should have pushed. You know protocol. Every client gets offered a product. She said she was allergic to most of them. I wasn't going to pressure her. Danielle leaned closer. This isn't a charity. If you want hours next month, I suggest you remember that. Luis looked down. Got it. Danielle walked away, heels clicking against the tile. Mitchell felt his jaw tighten. He walked toward Luis casually, pretending to gather supplies from a nearby shelf. Everything okay? He asked under his breath. Luis gave a brief nod without meeting his eyes. Just the usual. That phrase stuck with Mitchell as he moved through the rest of the day. Just the usual. At noon, Jessa passed by again, looking pale. Danielle wants a deep clean on the sauna benches before the afternoon rush. That's not till 2, Mitchell said. We've got time. Not according to her. He followed her to the sauna wing, where the heat was already building. They scrubbed in silence for a few minutes, then Jessa finally spoke. She's not supposed to cut hours for stuff like that. Luis has a kid. He needs the work. Mitchell looked over. Does corporate know she's doing that? Jessa wrung out a cloth. I doubt it. She's careful. She keeps the books clean and says whatever she needs to on reports. Mitchell didn't answer. They finished the sauna and stepped out just as Danielle passed by again. She didn't speak to them, but her eyes landed on Mitchell for a moment too long. By 2, the front desk was backed up. The phone rang nonstop, and only one receptionist was there, a tall, red-haired woman named Carly, who looked close to tears. Mitchell stepped behind the counter to help reorganize a few forms. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Carly gave a quick, tight nod. "I'm covering 2 shifts. Mia was supposed to be here." "Why didn't they bring in backup?" "They said there was no budget, but we're booked solid." Mitchell checked the calendar. Every half-hour block was full. "You shouldn't be alone up here," he said. Carly gave a half laugh. "Tell that to Danielle." An older woman, probably in her late 50s, stepped toward the desk with a slight limp. "Excuse me," she said gently. "I had an appointment at 1:30. I've been waiting 15 minutes. Carly apologized quickly and began checking the system. Mitchell noticed Danielle standing in the hallway, arms folded. She watched the whole exchange, but didn't step in. After the client was taken care of, Danielle approached. "You need to move faster," she said to Carly. "I'm doing my best. There's no backup. Then your best needs to improve." Carly looked like she wanted to say something else but didn't. Danielle turned and walked away. Mitchell followed. He caught up with Danielle near the back hallway. "You're short-staffed up front," he said, keeping his tone neutral. "I'm aware." Carly's overwhelmed. Danielle narrowed her eyes. "Did I ask for your input?"
No.
"But if I'm being trained for operations, this is part of what I'm supposed to observe." She stepped closer. "Let me make something clear. This location has the highest profit margin of any in the region. You don't get numbers like that by coddling people. If they can't keep up, they don't belong here." Mitchell didn't flinch. "You're risking burnout. And turnover." "Turnover's part of the job," she said, then walked away. He stood still for a long moment, the hum of the hallway pressing in around him. At 4, Jessa found him near the break room. "Mike," she said, voice low. "Do you have a second?" He nodded and followed her into the laundry room, where the machines rumbled softly. She closed the door behind them. "I don't know if this is something you care about," she said, choosing her words carefully.
"But Mia?"
"The girl from yesterday." "What about her?" "She left me a voicemail. Said she didn't quit because of nerves. She quit because Danielle told her she'd scare clients." Mitchell's throat tightened. "She said Danielle told her she wasn't the right look for the front desk." He stared at the floor, fists at his sides. "I told her she should report it," Jessa added. "But she's afraid. Said she doesn't want to make trouble." Mitchell looked up. "Do you still have the voicemail?" Jessa nodded. "I can send it." He stepped out into the hallway without another word. It was time. The voicemail played through the Bluetooth speaker on Mitchell's desk just after 7 that evening. He was alone in a rented apartment 5 blocks from the spa, still in his uniform. The voice was quiet, shaking slightly, but clear. "I really wanted this job. I did. But after what she said, I can't be somewhere I have to hide who I am just to hand someone a towel." He didn't replay it. He'd heard enough. The following morning, he arrived before sunrise. He didn't go in through the employee entrance. Instead, he waited in the alley behind the spa in a plain black jacket, watching through the tinted delivery door window until Danielle arrived. She stepped out of a black SUV, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, and disappeared inside. Mitchell waited another 5 minutes. Then he made the call. "Eileen, it's Mitchell. Clear my calendar. I'm pulling the curtain today." There was no hesitation on the other end. He entered through the front door at 8:45, just as the first clients were checking in. Carly glanced up from the desk, ready to greet him, then froze. "Mr. Evans?" Luis was standing nearby, holding a clipboard. He turned slowly, eyes widening. Jessa emerged from the hallway behind the desk, mouth parting in disbelief. Mitchell gave a small nod, then walked past them without a word, heading straight toward the manager's office. Danielle was seated at her desk, typing furiously. She didn't look up when he knocked. "Give me 2 minutes," she started. "Now," he said, voice flat. She glanced up and her face drained of color.
Sir.
"I wasn't expecting stand up." She rose slowly, smoothing her jacket. "If I'd known you were visiting, I would've saved the rehearsed excuses," he said. "We're going to have a conversation. Out there. Everyone's going to hear it." Her eyes darted toward the hallway. "You don't have that kind of authority here," she tried. "I own this building, Danielle." He turned and walked back into the reception area. Staff had gathered: Carly, Luis, Jessa, a few others. Even some clients were peeking around the corner, sensing something unusual. Danielle stepped into the hallway behind him, her expression unreadable now. Mitchell turned to face them all. "For the past 5 days," he began, "I've worked alongside you as an entry-level hire. I've stocked robes, cleaned spa rooms, and folded towels. And I've seen enough." Danielle opened her mouth, but Mitchell raised his hand. "Not yet." He looked at Jessa. "You've carried this place on your back without complaint. You've trained new hires, picked up slack, and shown more integrity than half the leadership I've hired in 5 years." Then he turned to Carly. "I watched you manage a 2-person job alone while being told to move faster, instead of being given help. That's not just mismanagement. That's neglect." Danielle stepped forward. "With all due respect, you haven't seen what it's like running this place daily. There are standards." "I heard what you told Mia," Mitchell said sharply. The room fell silent. Danielle blinked. "I'm not sure." "You told her to keep her sleeves down.
You told her she didn't fit the front desk.
You told her she might scare clients. You told her to hide her burns." Murmurs rippled behind him. "That's a violation of federal employment law, of human decency, and of every value this company claims to stand for." "She wasn't qualified, she was hired," Mitchell cut in. "And she quit because of you." Danielle's jaw tightened. Mitchell stepped closer, voice lower now. "You bullied staff. You humiliated employees. You threatened hours as leverage and pushed product sales over human respect. You ran this location like a numbers game with no regard for the people keeping it running." "It's not personal," Danielle said. "It's business. That's what this job demands." "No," Mitchell said. "That's what you practiced. And it ends today." He turned to the staff. "Danielle is no longer employed here." No one spoke. Not even her. She stood frozen, then slowly removed her name tag and set it on the receptionist's desk. When she turned to leave, no one stopped her. Mitchell waited until the door shut behind her before speaking again. "There'll be an interim manager by this afternoon. HR will be here within the hour to speak with each of you individually and document everything that's happened here. Not just the last week, all of it." He looked around the room, one face at a time. "This isn't about damage control. It's about repair. You deserve better." Jessa stepped forward, hesitant. "What about the short staffing? I've already authorized emergency hires. We'll bring in support from other locations starting tomorrow. In the meantime, if anyone needs to step away today for a break, for a breath, do it. No questions asked."
Luis exhaló audibly.
Carly sat down slowly, as if her knees had started to shake. "I'll be here the rest of the day," Mitchell added. "Not as the CEO. Just as a colleague. There's plenty of work left to do." He headed toward the laundry room, grabbing a fresh stack of towels on the way. Jessa followed a few steps behind. She didn't say anything right away, just picked up a towel and folded beside him. After a while, she asked, "What made you come here?" He looked down at his hands. "I stopped trusting my reports. I started reading the reviews again. And I realized I didn't know what my company had become." Jessa nodded slowly. "You do now." Mitchell folded another towel, tighter this time. Outside, The spa carried on, clients checked in, appointments were kept. But the energy had shifted. Staff moved with purpose, not fear. Conversations were quieter, but more genuine. In the afternoon, an HR team arrived with laptops and notepads. One by one, employees were called into the back office to tell their stories. No one was rushed. No one was interrupted. Mitchell stayed in the background, helping where needed, listening more than he spoke. Around 5, a young woman in a navy hoodie stepped hesitantly through the front door. Jessa looked up from the desk. "Mia?" The girl nodded, eyes darting around. Mitchell stepped forward. "We'd like you to come back." Mia hesitated. "Will she still be here?"
"No," he said. "She's gone."
"She won't step foot in this building again." Mia looked at Jessa, who smiled gently and nodded. "I want to," Mia said quietly. "I just want to work." Mitchell gave a single nod. "That's all we've ever needed." As Mia followed Jessa down the hallway to retrieve her badge, Mitchell stood at the desk, watching the door close behind them. The hum of the spa returned steady, calm. He didn't need reports to know things were changing. He could feel it in the silence. By the next morning, the storm had passed, but the air still carried the weight of what had been uprooted. The building felt quieter in a different way. Not hollow, just cautious. As if everyone was waiting to see if the changes would hold or if the ground would shift again. Mitchell arrived just before the first shift, wearing the same gray uniform, only this time with his own name badge clipped to the collar. Not Mike. Just Mitchell Evans. The front desk was still thin. Carly had called in to rest her voice, which had cracked yesterday from non-stop talking. He had personally told her to take a full day off. Inside the break room, Luis sat hunched over a bowl of oatmeal, flipping through a notebook he kept in his back pocket. Mitchell greeted him gently. "I didn't know you drew," he said, noticing a page of rough sketches, massage table diagrams, muscle groups, even small illustration of a hand in motion. Luis offered a small shrug. "It helps me think through treatments. Some clients have injuries they don't tell us about up front. I like to adjust without making them say things twice." Mitchell pulled a chair and Saturday. "How long have you been doing that?" "Since school," Luis said. "I started working here because I thought I'd be able to grow into something more specialized over time. Maybe sports therapy or chronic pain work." Mitchell tapped the notebook cover. "You ever show this to anyone?" Luis shook his head. "Didn't think it mattered." "It does now," Mitchell said. "We're bringing in a clinical consultant next month to improve our treatment design. I want you on that project." Luis blinked. "Seriously? You've been watching the details this place has missed for years. That's not going unnoticed anymore." Luis nodded once, not smiling, just absorbing. In the hallway, Jessa was checking linen carts. She looked up when Mitchell approached and leaned slightly against the wall, arms crossed, not folded, more grounded now than guarded. "I heard you stuck around last night," she said. "Even helped clean the steam vents. I figured I owed the equipment a little respect." She smirked lightly. "They've been ignored longer than most of us." "I've got a question," he said, keeping his tone even. "If you could change 3 things about how this place runs starting today, what would they be?" She didn't hesitate. "First, stop double stacking appointments. It's making everyone late and clients irritated. Second, add a float position for rooms. Someone who's just there to reset between treatments. Third, don't laugh, I'd change the music. That flute track in room 4 makes people anxious." Mitchell nodded. "The float position's already approved. HR's drafting postings this afternoon. We'll start with part-time and scale." Jessa blinked. "Really? You've been in triage mode long enough," he said. "We're not waiting months to fix the obvious." She looked at him differently, now not with disbelief, but a kind of cautious hope. He continued down the hall. The new interim manager was due to arrive by noon, a regional ops lead named Nora, who had a reputation for rebuilding teams without theatrics. She'd be staying for 30 days, embedded. At 11, the HR team returned. Not with clipboards this time, but with printed policies updates to the workplace conduct policy, new anonymous reporting channels, and a calendar for one-on-one listening sessions. Mitchell asked them to set up an employee lounge, not the back office. Midday hit like it always did, fast and loud. A robe delivery was late, a client had a reaction to a facial serum, and someone spilled a tray of cucumber water in the reception alcove. But there was no panic. Staff moved with quiet urgency, and when Mia arrived for her first shift back, she was met not with silence, but with a nod from Jessa and a light tap on the shoulder from Luis. Mitchell stayed visible, but unobtrusive. He helped where needed, checked on the new temp backfilling Carly's shift, and reviewed the upcoming week's staffing grid with Nora, who had arrived without fanfare and immediately began shadowing the front desk procedures. By 4 o'clock, Mitchell found himself back in the laundry room, folding towels with Mia. The two of them worked in silence at first, the sound of the dryer filling the space. "I almost didn't come," she said finally. "I know, but I'm glad I did. You should have never been made to feel otherwise." She nodded, then paused. "Can I ask something?" "Of course. Why didn't you just fire her quietly? Why make it public?" He looked down at the towel in his hands. "Because she didn't humiliate people behind closed doors. She did it out in the open. And if you let that kind of harm happen in front of everyone, the apology has to happen in front of everyone too." Mia looked at him for a long moment. "That makes sense." Later that evening, with the last appointments finishing, Mitchell walked through the spa slowly, room by room. Nora was still speaking with the night shift lead, going over end-of-day routines. Jessa was writing something on a clipboard in the supply hallway, her movements less rushed now. Luis was showing Mia how to check the diffuser filters properly, using his own notes. He stepped outside, phone in hand, and called Eileen back at headquarters. "Put a halt on expansion," he said. There was a pause. "For how long?" she asked. "Until we can guarantee what happened here won't happen anywhere else." He hung up and stood under the awning, watching the last bit of sunlight fade from the sky. This spa wouldn't be perfect tomorrow. The staff wouldn't suddenly forget what they'd endured. But the damage had been acknowledged. Not hidden. Not spun. Acknowledged. And in its place, something solid was beginning to take root. Inside, the laundry machine buzzed again. Towels to fold. Work to do. Mitchell stepped back in, ready to help finish the day.